All right, hello, everyone. We're going to start out with a roll call. So tonight we have Pam, Dan, Sharon, Joe, Mary, Carol will be coming, and Nadira is remote. And Mandy is absent. All right, first of all, we need to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Everyone got the email. Would anybody like to motion to approve the minutes?
Yep.
Sharon will motion, and can I have a second? Second. Thanks, Pam.
Carol.
Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol. Hey, Carol.
Yeah.
I've got paper up here for you. You can use
You wanna
either
sit
copy, but
there,
the
or-
one paper you needed. So
Okay.
that's on top with your name.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is special reports. So this is Scott on the outstanding projects, and Scott did send us his report on November 3rd. So first of all, Scott, over to you.
I just sent you a quick update because it's only been a week. Last Thursday, we did have a meeting with Department of State. They asked if we could organize a meeting with both the town and the village to go over all projects. So we had a full day of the Department of State official that oversees both the LWRP, all three LWRPs for the town and the village. She came up, we met at 10. We took the first 20 minutes to talk about the joint planning LWRP for the town and the village, the status of that. It was in legal, it's in the legal department at Department of States for final review. If they issue the 60-day notice, then it will be published for 60 days for public comment and feedback from any other agency. If there's no recommended, the town and the village can then do a seeker and adopt it. We did discuss planning the seeker and the timing so that the town does the seeker during the 60-day review, and then they can just adopt it when the 60-day review is up, because the seeker is a 30-day process or more.
Can you explain what a seeker is? I'm not familiar
Yep,
with that
state
term.
environmental review. So
Oh,
before any project, there's different types, like some are just like a type 2, and the town or the village can say, you know, there's no negative impact, but because of this one's a larger scale, it's a type 1. You have a full environmental review and then send notice to all involved agencies that you're being the lead agent, and you have 30 days to comment whether you want to participate as an agent or not. And you cannot close the seeker until those 30 days are up, or if you hear back from all the agencies before the 30 days, then you can at that point. So then we went on to both Club Street, the Club Street LWRP for the town. We discussed the status of that. Talked about Captain Jackson, the purchase and where that was at, and if the state would allow us to move the money and purchase maybe Trottier's property instead. And the way that we work the work plan, it just says property acquisition and don't identify a property. So if the deal doesn't go forward with Captain Jackson, we work with Trottier on his property, that would also be part of the grant. They would allow us to shift the properties.
do we have any, do we have an end date on that? Like, how long are we gonna just sort of be in a holding pattern on Captain Jack's?
Well, we're ready to transfer to another property today with the understanding that we would use other funds in the future if and when they get their, you know what, together.
Mhm.
So if somebody makes an offer where that works out.
Yeah, I mean, that would happen tomorrow if,
Okay.
if we.
So,
could
yeah,
get-
because I mean, it's not like we're legally bound by how long, was there some, like, we made an offer of money that would have expired at a certain
No.
date to Captain Jack, so it was
The
just
only,
an
the only
open-ended-
expiration is we gotta keep the grant in
Right.
in a
Right.
We've got a
timeline.
time frame for the grant. So if the town wants to pursue that, we could schedule another meeting with Ron and bring him back to the table and have that discussion with him. So,
And I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed on
The New York Forward or
New York
DRI.
Forward.
Right,
yeah, hopefully within the next 2 or 3 weeks, they did start announcing.
because that could really
for-
open a new door
Mm.
for everybody, so.
Yeah, I mean, if you knew you had that funding to do phase 2 of the marina, you purchase Ron's property.
Right.
Or you push it harder.
Push it harder,
You just can't use that grant money for the acquisition.
right?
You can use it for everything else.
So do you think we should move ahead and try to get Ron?
I would maybe, if just timing wise, see if Ron's willing to sit down with Jerry and Marty and just have that discussion.
I mean, I feel like we should. What do others think? I mean, this is so weird because it's a town grant. It's been going way before we were here. Village probably feels the same way, right? It's a town grant, but the properties are in the
Exactly.
village, so it's kind of a weird
It is. Dynamic,
group
but-
of people. So I always feel like at least the LDC is, even on these things, is sort of in an advisory capacity,
Mhm.
right? Like we have a point of view that we
Definitely.
can tell people that it's our point of view.
Certainly, sure.
And, you know, it's just a point of view. We don't get a vote. So I don't know. What do others think? It just seems like we should keep Trotty air warm,
Yeah,
as
that
they
kind
say
of
in the
makes sense to me, like you
business.
say, move out
Certainly can't
before you use
hurt.
the money,
No.
right? Yeah.
I can reach out to him again and see, since I did the last meeting.
Like we,
See if he-
and like Danny and you said, there's still future grants that will be available, so Captain Jack is still in play
Yeah.
for,
Mhm.
but
Well, and we're
Whatever we
sitting
can-
on, I don't know, we got 700 and some thousand in our $1 million
right,
bond
Bond.
as well, so.
right.
But we're not held any timeline on Captain.
And on the LWRP, Club Street in general,
Yeah.
the future phases. Now, will they all still be town or will they move to us? So like there was a multi-phased,
Mm.
you know,
Or
project,
something,
right, that from the design. So
Depends
will,
on grants, the way I look at it.
Oh, right.
I mean, it was.
but I didn't know if the grants
Yeah.
had to be town grants.
I would say I would say when we are awarded the New York Forward in the next 3 weeks, that would probably still go through the village. It might be work on the town property if the town buys it, but they can use that money to do work on the town property, because that's how the application already went in as a municipal project. But if grants moving forward, I think we could apply for.
I mean, I know
For the
there's some that it
LDC.
has to be, like the one in January, it's gotta be a town, but that was my question.
Right.
The future things along the
I
waterfront
think
there.
along the waterfront, we can shift the future grant applications to the LDC if.
As long as the town or
does.
village agree with
Right.
it.
Right,
Yeah.
and I think that was their intent anyway,
Which,
so I think
yeah,
that's
we
a
aren't
big
gonna have any
purpose
issues
of
with
it.
it.
So
Okay.
those grants, the LDC will qualify for.
Okay, good. Thank you. That was my question.
So we also discussed the open items, what was missing for the town to get the reimbursement. So I have one of them in my card and Marty to sign. And then Edgewater's working on the last item that's needed, so town will be able to submit for reimbursement hopefully next week. Edgewater gets me what they need to finish up. And then we went on a tour. We took her downtown and stopped at every Ready project. We stopped at the LWRP project, showed her the complete Ready projects, talked about Captain Jack's on site and Trottier's property and possibly moving the bathhouse into that building if the town was to acquire it and just renovating it. Then we went down to East End Park and showed them the LWRP down there and the Ready work. And then in the afternoon, we had like an official committee meeting for East End Parks local waterfront revitalization grant. We didn't really form a committee because the design's already done, so we put 5 people in the room and called it a committee, so it checked the box, so that's complete. And the village is going to have a public information session December 13th at 6 o'clock during their board meeting. Bernie Carr is going to do just a presentation and take comments and feedback, because that's one of the requirements of the grant too. But it will be just on the LWRP portion, so really the landscaping, the paving, the sidewalks, not anything that's being done by Ready. So that's
Good, good. Thank you. Anybody have any other questions for Scott? Okay, great. All right, next up are the officer report. as the chair, I have nothing other than things that are going to be mentioned later. The vice chair is absent. Secretary is a vacant position. Carol, do you have anything other than what you're going to talk about later in the agenda?
I do not.
Okay, great. Then let's move right over to Carol. Okay, just, you can see the updates that we're looking for, Carol.
So the EIN, for whatever reason, they did not do the normal approval that you get when you do it online. Some sort of conflict, some sort of name of company that, or something to that effect. And of course, they can't tell you anything. I literally have been on hold for literally more than 3 hours on 3 separate days with them. So I faxed it in ultimately, and then a fax takes more like 5 days. And I called yesterday and they said, well, you know, we might be a little behind. They couldn't really put their hands on it. So now I have to call again Monday. So we do not have an EIN yet.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, it's supposed to be simple, and so I'm shocked that that's how it went down.
Well, thank you for pursuing it like
Yes.
you are.
Hopefully next week.
Hopefully
Should- there
next
shouldn't
week.
be-
Yeah.
Good.
But I think what you brought up back in the day when they
They
applied.
did,
it
and
was-
I didn't think they ever actually did, but,
Well, they were turned down because it wasn't an official entity,
okay,
but it must have stuck in the
In the
system
system.
somehow.
So that name is Poland.
okay.
And they're saying,
Sure.
they keep saying, have you ever applied for one before? And I say, no, I haven't. And
Brand
did it
name.
use, I mean, the name is pretty close, right?
Yeah.
Didn't have the word corporation on it though.
Right.
It couldn't have had the name
Right,
corporation
okay.
on it. So, and that's what's going on, I'm sure.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
eventually it will get fixed, but it just throws up.
Yeah.
I had to send them all the articles of incorporation and everything. So it's all faxed. And
Okay,
then he said, when you call next Monday, if they don't produce anything, then you'll need to refax. So let's just hope I call
Yeah.
Monday. and we
if
get
you
it
do
crossed.
come up, or they start asking questions about that previous, I can go back and dig out minutes potentially, but I don't know if there's anything that's.
But it's not us.
It shouldn't be, so it shouldn't
I
matter.
shouldn't have to
No,
answer
you shouldn't
anything
have
with
to.
that. We
No.
are the corporation. We just formed in
Exactly.
September. Here it is, and that's what they should have. So it's just been kind of.
Yeah.
And they ought to be able to tell if there's anything filed under that same name. If there isn't, then there shouldn't be an issue anyway.
It's,
Oh,
you know,
anyway.
you're talking to somebody who can't really look anything up and can't really, it's just hard.
Right.
So we're just at the mercy of time. So thank goodness the village is able to issue checks and do some of this stuff, because otherwise we'd still be dead in the water.
Right.
Because we can't get a bank account without an EIN, plain and
Yeah.
simple.
All right, next up is the insurance, for Carol and Dan. In your packet, you have resolution 11-1, 2002 11-1. This is basically gonna authorize us to buy the insurance. Attached to it as Exhibit A is the spreadsheet that Carol worked on where it lined up the costs and all of that, so, and I believe, Nadira, you should have an email that has 11-1 in it, probably without the spreadsheet, but the spreadsheet is in the governance. I'm sorry, it's in the shared folder under resolutions, if you want to look at that. So, Carol, do you, and Dan, you want to talk about this a little bit, and then we can take a
She
a
did it
vote?
all. I didn't do anything.
Well, Dan and I feel that we should go with Barnard. It is 80% co-insurance instead of full insurance. That's really the only difference. We certainly don't on the property. But it's less money. We want to bring the premium from the DNO and EPLI down to the 783 by doing shared limits, because we don't feel we need an extra $1 million for EPLI with no real employees. And then it becomes the lowest quote, plus they're our landlord and giving us a heck of a deal, so. And they're in Cape Vincent, so those are 3
Right.
positives, so we see no reason to go elsewhere. But I will say that Higgins did a fabulous job, even though they're the ones who got us the 2 million that we had asked for on one thing. Nobody else could as a new business.
Mhm.
And they're very professional to deal with. I've never dealt with them before, so it's. And I deal with him all the time, but, but I was impressed with Higgins, but we're recommending Barnard.
And that's the way the resolution is written. If you guys take a look at it, that we would buy it from Bernard and Doctor. So I would like to, if we can, go through a roll call on a vote on this resolution. So Nadira, you're first.
Yes.
Thank you. Joe?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mandy is absent. Sharon,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Dan,
I,
Pam.
Yes.
Excellent, another thing done.
Yeah.
All right, Carol, update on the 501c3.
There's no update, and I don't know that it should be even on here as an active item, because until we get, we're going to hire a CPA firm, they're gonna file that, so there's just absolutely zero going on there.
Yeah, I think the only thing that we could maybe talk about at this point is the concept of getting a CPA firm.
Okay, so, we will need a CPA firm to do our annual audit, which I'm pretty sure, even though it's a 2-month year, we're gonna need one for this year,
Yeah.
yes,
I
okay.
do.
And that would be early in next year. I also intend to set up a set of books and would like them to make sure I've got the funds where they should be when we have some funds, and get me off on the right start, because I've not done nonprofit. And then they would file this 501c3, and just to make it clear to everyone, we are a nonprofit organization, no matter whether we ever file for a 501c3. A 501c3 does let people donate to us and tax deduct it, and it's like an official stamp, but we are filed as a nonprofit, so I mean, we're a nonprofit, no matter how you slice it.
Oh,
So that's it, and there's also tagged onto this, there's a New York State filing that I can do that one once we have an EIN, which will let us have a tax exempt document, so when we buy things, we won't have to pay sales tax.
That's great. Good, yeah, so that helps. I think it kind of puts it in perspective for everybody. I know there were some emails, but I'm never quite sure, is everybody on every email or
Yeah,
not?
and
So,
we got so many things going back and forth lately.
yeah, a lot of things.
You think?
Yeah, it will get better. This
Scared
is,
Mandy
this is,
right now.
this is a startup. This is startup. Okay, anything else from finance?
No.
No, you guys are doing a lot, so thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, moving over to governance, Sharon, and in your packets, guys, just so you know, you also have a 10-11 resolution, which you can reference during this discussion. This particular one we shelved last time around the video conferencing policy. So Sharon, over to you.
Okay, so we met, the governance committee met on Tuesday, and in attendance were Nadira, Mandy, myself, and Mary sat in Kathy's absence, because Kathy was one of the original committee members for the governance committee. So the focus was on drafting the video conferencing policy. And like Mary said, you can see that attached as Exhibit A on the resolution. What we did for that as a starting point, we looked at the town or the villages local law that they have for video conferencing, bounced that against the most recent public officers law to make sure we're in compliance. The main difference that we have in our policy, it's obviously a policy as opposed to a local law, but in the section 3, where we took some of the wording from the public officers law, section 103, we added seasonal residency as another caveat there in terms of not being in person for the meeting. So other than that, it basically just references the public officers law 103. And with this, we can't vote on it yet because it has to go before the public. So I think we had talked about last time, just maybe 15 minutes
Yeah.
prior to the
So we're
December
gonna have to
meeting.
make sure that on that December meeting that and so Dan, I think we need to we'll have to check how much in advance we have to do that. To say about the
I don't
public
think it'd
meeting.
be any more than the 7 days.
It might
I'll
not
check.
be, it might be, just double check for us if you would, thank you.
Public hearing.
And the other thing that we started looking into is pulling together an RFP form. And I found some information, Mary found some information, Nadira sent some information on conflict of interest that we can include in that template. So I took the action to work on that the next few days to kind of pull them together, to have everybody look at.
And then pretty much the first RFP, I think we're gonna wanna do is
Be the
CPA.
CPA.
As a CPA.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is the thing that I found, it was from 2014, but it was a
great.
course from New York State on how to do RFPs. It was like, this is awesome, I mean, it was
Wow.
like, make sure you do all this, and there were like
Right.
little quizzes at the end of section. It was great, it was well done.
So Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, so I'll post that and then some of this other reference material. I might create a governance committee subfolder on our shared drive. So I'm also posting that reference material, the charts that Mary was referring to, and any information, anything we leverage to create our templates.
So also in your packets, in our strategic framework we got from MRB, there was an acknowledgement of fiduciary responsibilities item. And Nadira, I forgot to fax this to you or scan this into you, but I will. I just missed it, but I'll get it to you. Dan, this should be filed with our record of our training that we did, which I know we have to do again, but that we all did.
I need the reminder anyways. It seems like it was forever ago.
It was
It
forever
does, it
ago,
does.
so we'll have to find out when that is. But anyway, so I had Mandy sign hers the other night. Here's mine. So you have two, and anybody else who wants to just sign it tonight and give it to Dan, that'd be great. And then I will I will take the to-do again because I forgot to do the thing for you, Nadira, and then you can just sign it and scan it back. Or you, well, no, because I think the way it is in the whole document, the policies document, I think it's gonna be hard for you to get out of there.
More of it.
So I'll just do the one page and get it to you. And then what we can do, Dan, is she'll sign it, scan it back to you, and then you can print it and put it in the file, and then we'll have that piece done. Okay.
So you're saying this has got to go to that EBSCO or whatever with the,
I don't know, Kathy said, and again, I'm going on Kathy's thing, the MRB put this in our packet, so it was part of the packet that they gave us. And Kathy said we should sign it and file it with the training documents, so she got that info somewhere. Tracy might be able to tell you if it's actually got to go somewhere, or it's just something like the
File
binder.
in the- Yeah.
It could be just in our, see, I told you it was an old crappy binder, but at least it's a binder.
better than I got.
It was down in some old office stuff we had from the store. Okay. Anything else from governance?
No, I think the only other thing we did just a quick review of our charter to make sure we're all in sync. And it has in there that we'll meet on, I can't remember the wording of it, but as determined basis to review policies, practices, procedures like that. So we decided for this first year, we'll have that official review in June, just 6 months from now, since we're just getting established, and then annually after that. And I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I don't remember anything else. Good. All right, moving on to old business. So, planner negotiation. So the officers went through Scott's proposed agreement. We made edits that was sent to everybody on the board to review. No one came back with any additional changes by noon on Monday, which was the deadline. The officers met with Scott. We went through things. There was a couple of little small things that we fixed after that. It wasn't anything like there was a place where a period wasn't kind of thing. And there was so there was just a couple of questions. Those got fixed. And then Pam, you took it to the town or the village board. So can you give us an update there?
So the village reviewed it and Jerry signed it.
Okay.
After a vote, so, and he signed it and I notarized. If you are going to sign it tonight, I guess Scott could sign it as well.
Yeah,
I
I'm
do-
not gonna sign it till I
Tonight,
get
okay.
till I get the insurance.
Okay,
Which my hope is on the insurance. Do you have checks for insurance?
she took them there herself, but that is.
Oh,
for you.
she gave
That's-
the.
She was taking
Oh,
it to,
wonderful.
Oh,
to
this is mine.
Barnard,
Okay.
so-
All right, excellent. So I'm gonna go,
okay,
yeah, I'm gonna go there tomorrow. I'm gonna go there tomorrow and
Okay.
sign, because I asked her if I
okay,
could come Friday or Monday, because I didn't know if I was gonna have to go to the village office to get the checks. But
Okay.
if she's already got the checks, then I'll just go sign the
yes, they
insurance.
should be at Barnard.
Yeah, and then I think we'll get Marty to sign it, then I'll sign it last.
Okay, perfect.
I think that makes sense. I just want to make sure that the town is good with it too. I mean, we know we're good with it.
Right.
Because we
Yeah.
did all the word tweaking, but I want to make sure they're good with it.
So I'll give
before I
it to
sign.
you for your meeting tonight then?
Yeah.
I'll sign it before I go. If you want to
Okay.
notarize it.
Mhm.
And then Pam, I can just,
Yeah, I can. do
you know,
that
when
for
I
you
get it, then
anytime, no
I'll
worries.
see you.
Yep.
All right, so that is, yeah, that's all I have on that. I mean, I think, Scott, anything you'd add? I mean, I think we're good, right?
I
It's
think
just a matter of
everything's good.
signing
Just
and,
minor language change, everything.
And the
Uh-huh.
village approved cutting the check for the deposit once it's fully executed and
that's
the funds
great.
are transferred to. the
yeah, because we don't know when we're gonna have our bank account, so
Right.
that's really
Right,
good.
so that's all in place.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you for handling that.
Oh,
Appreciate it. All right, MRB proposal. Is there an MRB proposal on your guys' thing, or do you guys have?
No,
one on
no.
that? Okay, there is an MRB proposal. It is in the share drive. And basically, we approved last time that we were going to do the agreement with MRB. The way the funding is on the MRB proposal is they're just going to periodically, so it's got a $5,000 limit. So it's a cap. It's not like we pay them 5,000. So they're going to invoice us periodically. Based on what we agreed to last time on the resolution, again, as soon as I have the insurance, I will sign that, get it back to MRB. And then they'll be able to invoice us, just on a periodic basis. That's the way that's gonna work. And they're gonna invoice us, where Scott invoices us at the beginning of the month before the month happens. MRB will bill us after the work is completed. So they're flipped. So, yeah, and I mean, right now they're, Tracy's still answering everything for us. Dan, have we heard anything on the Paris login?
Nothing.
So that's waiting for Paris, or she had to send something in, get an
She,
approval?
she sent all that stuff in, the articles and everything, and said I would be getting an email. Marty and I got an email, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. And said, you need to submit this, this, and this. Tracy did that, and I haven't seen or heard anything since. So,
Is there anybody we can follow up with?
here's an email.
Would you mind doing
No.
that since it's your name on it?
No,
It's just, I mean, there would seem to be this, like, we have to have all this by November 1st, and then now it's like, we have to have everything by November 1st. So I just want to make sure we're not gonna screw up anything with New York State.
So the MRB group proposal, what are we talking about on that?
So that is where they're gonna help us with Paris. And any pretty much, kind of the startup stuff that we might need help with.
right.
And they're gonna just bill us periodically, not to exceed $5,000.
Okay, and I've already approved this.
We approved that last time.
They just had to rewrite it. The contract that we had was written to the town,
Oh,
so they,
So now it's written to us.
it's written to our entity.
what address is 1964 New York Route, State Route 12E? That's what's on here. Oh, that's your address, Dan. Okay,
The one at our office address. Must be
No, that's not our
it
office
must be
address.
your address.
not my address. I have no idea what that address is.
Typo maybe.
That might be
At the town?
that's probably the town.
1964 State Route 12E.
Town's
Town.
12E.
Yeah,
probably
that's
the
probably the
town.
town.
Oh, okay,
That's the
all right.
town.
Probably the
Yeah.
town office.
All right. And.
Yeah, because we're 121 South Market Street.
Yeah, right.
And then MRB was gonna help set up or make sure that we properly set up the compliance calendar, kind of the schedule of things.
Right, that's really the
That'll
main
be- yeah,
thing,
that'll
is
be
them
huge.
to make sure that we do everything right according to state. The roadblock we have is somebody from the board, which Dan is doing that role for us,
So
has to be able to get in there and say, it's the board, it's not just some other consulting group doing it, but he doesn't have a login.
We'll wait
Oh,
for the
right,
login.
right.
So, I mean, they have everything they need, so I think we just need to maybe, kind of like poor Carol is tickling to, see if we can get things. All right, update on town activities.
Hauling rock up to Tibbetts,
saw
that.
above the water line. We're still waiting for permits to do around below the high water mark. Emailed Marty and Michelle. I'm hoping we'll get Scott's contract approved the 60,000 transfer to the village that was budgeted for current year. Marty kicked back and said, well, this isn't a business meeting, and Michelle said, well, it's an open meeting, it's advertised for any business that comes before the board. So I'm hoping we'll get it done tonight.
Yeah, I know we want to get this done, but if you guys need to do it on the 17th, right? I mean, I've got to take care of the insurance.
Right.
Yeah.
Scott knows it's not like we're just like hanging out, going to the beach, right? We're
No,
trying to get
I'm
this-
just not a can kicker. I mean, we've
Yeah.
got a public meeting, it's advertised, let's get it done and,
Yeah.
but anyway, so I'm gonna bring that up
When I
tonight.
was up to the office today, Michelle said that, she said they could address that tonight.
Yeah, no, I know, so hopefully we will. Other than that, budget hearing tonight. Hopefully nobody comes so we can get out of here fairly early, but
Question on the lighthouse in the state. There is a document out, I believe, from the state about them taking over the lighthouse property.
not to my knowledge.
There was some conveyance language in their grant contract, just talking about if it happens, that the work would be done before.
Okay.
I haven't seen any grant, not unless Marty got it direct and
Yeah,
didn't share it with anybody. The only thing I saw was like a one-page conveyance language for the grant, like that gives them the right to convey the grant work over to the state.
Okay,
Because normally if you get
I'm
grant-
only confused because Mike called me asking some questions and it made it sound like he was looking at a document from New York State, but that could have just been my
was just-
misunderstanding.
If it was anything, it was just like a one-page part of their grant contract. Because normally if you get a grant, you have to keep ownership for so long, so it was language
Saying
agreeing
that
to
we
that
would-
they could convey it to New York State.
Pam, Village,
So the only activity really was reviewing the Scott's contract, payment arrangements, and then the other part was what Scott already reported on. We had Irene here and reviewed all the ready projects, and our docs are going in finally. I see
They're
the big,
together, they're lining them up today.
yeah, and the plank, or what do you call it? To get onto
Walkway
the
was
walkway is
down
the
the
down
town.
there, not where it's supposed to be, but close, so. Progress. Can't think of anything else.
on the, I lost it. There was something I was gonna, did you guys pass a law, the videotape law? The video conferencing law that we saw a draft of, which we kind of used as our base?
Did
'Cause
we
the
pass
village
it,
was
or did we
going
bump
to
it
do that.
December.
Our understanding is now we can't ride on yours anyway. I was just
Okay.
curious. Which is why we're doing our own,
Okay, and it wouldn't be necessary if we had approved that,
other than
Yeah, other
if you
than-
have people who are gonna be gone,
right? Right.
somewhere. So,
Does that one require the public hearing?
yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
you guys
so we
are by
did, so
local
we've
law.
set the public hearing, so yes,
Okay,
for
so-
December, so we have, yes.
And we're gonna set our public hearing for next time, next meeting, right?
Yeah. I'm just curious. See, you're gonna have a public meeting
Public hearing, yes.
on,
I think it's
The 13th.
13th, December.
well,
13th.
what I'm wondering is why wouldn't we just do
Just do
both
it
of
all
them at the
one.
same meeting?
Because they're doing it at their full board meeting. They're not having a special meeting.
Well, but are you gonna do like a few minutes before?
At 6. No, we
but
do, we stop
they
the
do-
meeting to do it. at 6,
Oh,
so,
never
yeah,
mind then.
They do it right in the
Okay.
middle.
It's
never
typically
mind.
how we do it,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, any questions for Dan or Pam? Yeah, all
Yeah,
right.
just one comment, when you're talking MRB,
Mhm.
see if there's a list or something that you can sign up for conferences, because there was a really big LDC conference today in Utica that I didn't know about until today when it was going on. But there was like training sessions and other opportunities for LDCs. And the only reason I know about it is because Tracy called me from it. I had to call Tracy this morning and she was going into it.
And if you're talking to them, you might as well have them change the address on,
Contract again.
Oh,
And you could ask them about strategic planning, that we have to do our 2-year, is it? Do we have to start on? It's in our bylaws that we have to do a 2-year strategic plan.
Yep.
So I don't know how quickly we need to start it, but that was something they offered
Oh,
guidance
God,
in.
please,
I don't
not
know.
until like January. This is killing me.
I forgot about that.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Let's not even ask till January.
Okay, that's fine. then.
Thank you. Let me stop the recording. Please don't make it start until January. All right, new business, the lease, when I go to Doctor, and so the only copy of the lease I have is something that Kathy scanned in, which is weird. And we probably should have a nice clean copy. So I'm just gonna ask Marianne when I go to sign the insurance stuff, if she can give me a clean copy, just so we have it. And then Dan, I'll make sure you get that for our files. But it's $150 a month, just so everybody knows. The part I could read, because it was like the fax was like off kilter, or the scan. And it will terminate March 18th of 23. So we've only got the lease that long. The village has been paying out of that account for us. And I got the impression through the end of the year, it's
Yes,
paid,
it is.
right?
Yep.
So hopefully, when January comes around and the lease bill is due, we'll be set up
Right.
and we can just start paying it.
If you're gonna meet with her personally, I would ask her about lease renewal, but also ask her about Wi-Fi. If there's any way we could cheat off their Wi-Fi without
I can do that,
having
yeah.
to set up a whole new
Mhm.
Even if you bought like a
booster.
booster or repeater
Right,
and put it in their building, so it sends like.
right.
I've got-
I mean, they may not as an insurance company, but
Yeah, that's a good question.
They might be able to give you your own though,
yeah,
like on my Wi-Fi at home.
separate.
Like I have an Orbit system and I have 3, because my wife has a business in the house too, so her customers can get on like a free one, that my 2 are locked, and then it's just like one for them.
Gotcha.
Okay, yeah, I'll ask about that and let
Okay.
you guys know.
Good.
All right, next up is the replacement of the secretary position. So in your packet, so what we had said when we did the joint meeting is that if we had any opening, because at that point we thought right before the meeting that Carol was an opening, and then Carol came back, and so, but we talked about it anyway, that we said we would follow the process. And no, you can't quit.
Maybe Kathy will come back.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Everything better.
But the idea here would be that we would follow the process that placed all of us. So the first thing was to put an article in the Thousand Island Sun. What you see in front of you is a draft that I and the officers looked at and we worked through. So I think we would just need a motion to approve this. But the one thing I wanted to ask before we do the motion is you'll see that I specifically called out that this would be the secretary's role. And I think what we need to do is ask, does anyone else want to be the secretary who's currently on
Oh, yeah.
the board? Before we just say, you know, this person has to be the secretary. So, I mean, Carol and I are out.
I'll jump at
I
once.
know.
Let's go.
I'm tied up with the
No, thank
governance
you.
committee. I'm-
So I mean, really, it really gets down to it's Nadira, Joe,
Mhm.
or Sharon, right? Because everybody else is either an officer or a liaison. So I just felt it was only fair that we offer that up.
And I guess too, if, you know, since this isn't binding, if you get somebody who says, I would do it, but I don't want to be secretary, then we can revisit that and draw straws or something, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah.
You know,
the-
it's-
I
yeah.
can't make that.
So
meeting.
here's the somewhat good news. So, and you know, you all should do this, right? We are going to let people know that this is gonna go in the paper, and if you know somebody who might be interested, make sure they know about it. And you know, if you guys approve this writing the way it is, I'll get this to Thousand Island Sun hopefully tomorrow. And so we can get it in. But Carol knew a seasonal resident who sent me her resume. It is impressive. What I said to her was, because she is seasonal, like she's gonna be gone from end of October to beginning of May. And so I said, let us get our video conferencing policy in place. So I can send that to you so you understand, right, kind of what's involved, right? That you're gonna, and it shouldn't be a big deal as long as, because we kind of really made it more vanilla than I thought it might have been when I, you know, emailed with her. But, you know, I think, you know, she's definitely someone for us to consider, but if we said we were gonna go out and try to get folks, I think this would be important to follow the process. So what do others think?
I think we need to follow a process.
Yeah.
I mean, if our process is this, then we should do it, but not discount.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I
Right.
just reached out for
Yeah.
interest and,
Yeah.
Yeah, and she came right back with
oh, she's
interest.
interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we'll do is not unlike what we did before, is that once we get these all in, we'll all look at them and we'll say, you know, we think this is the right one. And in the case of Kathy. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, my little
You know, I
cheat
gotta
sheet
say,
thing.
thank goodness Kathy did all these resolutions.
did.
and all
Oh
the-
my
I mean,
goodness.
a ton of work that she did.
Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
appreciated.
So Kathy was a
She did that.
town.
It gives us
Yeah.
good templates to go forward with.
Right.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
So Kathy was a
Good hire
town
lawyer.
person.
Okay.
The way we divided it up. And if
Right.
you guys all remember, right, it was like both boards approved all the people. And then we said, well, there's supposed to be somebody from here, and then we just divided them.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where people lived. So, so we would take our recommendation to the town board and say, this is who we recommend, you know, and then hopefully they approve it. So, if you guys are okay with this wording, and I'll give you, you know, a minute to look at it, then I will need a motion from the floor to, in a second.
Mary, was that emailed out or, sorry?
Oh my God.
Wait a minute.
The volume's working.
You know what, Natira?
I swear I'm not yelling.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Raise your hand first.
Yeah, I don't think I did. I know that I had it round robin with the officers, but I don't think I
All
did.
right, no worries.
So I will send it to you just in case, Nadira, there's any wordsmithing that you see when I do the fiduciary thing, because now I owe you two things. So sorry about that. Yes. And if you want to, you can abstain from this because you haven't seen it, which. we
Yeah,
can-
that's fine.
or, you know, it's not even an abstain thing, it's a motion thing. So I'll let everybody read this.
Yeah, I mean, and we can motion based on her review as well. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
if she wants to look at it before you
Yeah, before I send
submit
it
it,
off.
but I don't have any
Yeah,
problem with it.
sounds good.
Kind of hits it direct.
I'll make
Okay.
that
Sounds
motion.
good.
All right, Carol, you're gonna motion, okay? Carol, and I need a second.
Oh.
Sharon, thank you. All right, next up is purchase of office supply, Wi-Fi for office. I'm gonna check
Do we
on.
vote on the motion you just made?
Oh, right, yes, yes, okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so we got everybody, and Nadira, you're gonna hold, all right, so.
I have a quick question. Did we, and do we need to approve the minutes from last meeting?
Oh,
We
we
did.
did that, we did that
Okay.
up front.
Okay.
We did that front, sorry. Yes, it was not on the agenda because it wasn't on the first agenda and I copied the first agenda, but we will have it every time from now on. All right, so Dan, you wanted to talk about office supplies that we need to
Yeah,
purchase?
I've got I think the file cabinets they're old and I think they're wider than normal. I was gonna try to get the
Mm,
measurement
yeah.
so we could decide what we need for hangers that would work. But I can put together a list and you got the one that's gotta go buy them, right? Or pay for them, or how, what's the deal with that? I don't know.
So like this check is for, that I bought the Zoom, right? So what I did, just because we don't have our bank account yet.
Just keep it.
What I did is I went to Mary and I gave her,
Mary will
I gave her the
reimburse you.
invoice and
Okay.
said
If
I need
that's
to be
okay.
reimbursed. And it
Yeah,
was the
no,
same
that's fine.
for,
Yeah.
what else? I did something else. Oh, I
Yeah.
bought the website hosting. And it was the same idea.
Some
So
of
I
it.
would just, buy it all at Staples, give it to Mary, and then she'll just cut you a check. for
So our
it.
procurement policy, I think, is what Dan's referring to,
Right.
and I don't even remember what.
It's a dollar amount, so I think something like
Less than
this
1,000
would
is-
not.
Okay.
Yeah,
Would
I
be
would say,
effective.
once we have the EIN, it would absolutely go to Carol, and that would be the,
Mhm.
that would be the way we would do it.
Okay.
But we don't have, Carol can't pay, so. Carol has no money.
Dan, there is a printer next to ink
That's what you said.
That was
That's
bought
the-
for the
for the
development.
development committee.
Oh, good.
Oh, that's good, because boy, I'm telling you, I've been killing my,
And then I'm gonna wanna buy, the QuickBooks program.
yeah.
Yeah.
And at this point, thank you, Marty.
And that's gonna be something like, I don't know, maybe $70 a month, and it'll be online where people can see things. But once we have our 501c3, there's something I can apply for to get it for like $75 a year.
Yeah, I could have done,
Great.
once we had that 501c3, I could have gotten a reduce on the Zoom as well.
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
yeah,
so.
so. All right, so all right, so we've got, so you, Dan, you're gonna get us set up with that and then get reimbursed from Mary.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, and I'll check on the Wi-Fi. The other thing that I wanted to briefly discuss is I think the sooner we get our dates for 2023, the better off we're gonna be, because then we can just sort of, and that's gonna help Joe with the website and all of that. We originally were doing the fourth Thursday of the month, and then we said, oh, wow, but December and November are terrible because those are holidays in that time frame, and nobody wants to meet with us during the holidays. So what do you all think if we just say starting in January, well, actually starting in December, we do the second Thursday of each month? And because that way we'll avoid all holidays, because if you think about the holidays that would sort of be in the way are later in the month.
What are your, which are,
Ours are first and third.
first and third,
So
okay,
that was-
perfect.
So
So
that-
second, that
oh, I
sounds
like
good.
that, because
Yeah.
I travel a fair bit,
Yeah,
and it's always the end of the month. It's
Yeah.
always
Okay,
the last
so,
week.
all right, so
Yeah.
that sounds good, so.
I was just
um,
looking at the child care, the caregiver, thinking, okay, I'll be caregiving when I'm gone.
Yeah, so, all right, so what I'm gonna do is, in the minutes, I will lay out all those dates.
Yeah.
And I'll get it on everybody's calendar, with the Zoom link. And then Joe, you'll be able to use that to put them on the website.
Yep.
nice.
Great.
All right. The only other thing that I wanted to talk about, oh, we're doing great. The only, it's just like efficient. Go us, absolutely. Let's talk about how we want to do an executive director, because I really think we need one. I got to tell you, I have spent, and I'm not above administrative stuff, but I spent like a full day this week just making copies, scanning stuff in, and heck, I missed half of what I was supposed to send in Adira, you know? So I just think we are too, and I think there's a couple of ways we can do this. We could do a similar TI Sun article and look for independent consultant people who, you know, have a DBA and want to do this kind of thing. I think we'd have to figure out how many hours we think we need them. Because the executive director job description that, you know, we worked on, you know, early on, it doesn't have hours in it. So I think we'd have to figure out how many hours we want someone in that office. You know, Scott's, you know, 12 to 16 hours. If we could have this person like at a different time. Now we've got someone there from a public coming in perspective, right? Because it's not a big enough office for two people, I don't think. I think there's only the one desk. But I'm thinking we could go with sort of just not a hire thing. That's one option. We could see if the village or town would hire them, and then we would give them money back, right? Because they employ people, we don't. That's another option. So we could just do a hiring
At
thing.
least employee arrangement.
Yeah, we would lease them. Or the third option might be that we go to other consulting companies and say, would you hire somebody? So you're sort of the employer. I don't know, does anybody have any thoughts? I mean, I just think the sooner we can kind of, especially not having the secretary, and we don't know how long that's going to be. It's a lot. So what are people's thoughts?
It is an important decision, and I think but I need some time to think about it.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not looking for a
Yeah,
decision. I
yeah.
just wanted a discussion. I'm not looking for a motion or anything.
Yeah,
I mean, sort of like an action to say, okay, what are the next steps for thinking about this,
right.
You mentioned in the last meeting, you wanted to re-review the 2 job descriptions.
Yep.
Is that our first step? And if so, who's going to do that?
Okay.
Do we have a small group that wants to take a look at that and spend time on it? It's like, what's the next step, right?
Yeah.
Because if we don't get it started,
Yeah,
it's gonna be months, especially meeting once a month.
I'd be happy to look at that with whoever wants to partake.
Yeah.
Just
mean,
not this week.
Yeah,
Or
no.
next probably, but soon.
Well, that's what I'm kind of hoping is we could get things sort of in play, so January we could
Yes.
begin,
Definitely.
the December meeting, we could have a conversation about, hey, we've done a little work on this,
Yeah.
this is kind of, and just have it be that we're moving the ball
Yeah.
forward. So who else might want to work on this?
I wouldn't mind having a read through.
Okay, great. Yeah. So maybe, so Sharon and Pam,
Mhm.
and you're, the first thing you're gonna do is sort of look at those 2 job
Yep.
descriptions. Really think about the hours on the executive director, because I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know how many-
I don't know really, so it has to be a whole thought process.
Yeah, and really, I mean, it was, the way, it was really great, I thought, the way Carol put the spreadsheet
Mhm.
together and just sort of said, here's our options, and here's sort of the, I mean, in this case, it was black and white money, it was a little easier. Well, not really, because half that insurance stuff doesn't make sense to me, but maybe it's like, the pros and cons of different ways to get the
Mhm.
executive director. So we could all sort of, help us think it
Right,
through more
right,
thoroughly.
practically, and yeah. Okay,
Thanks.
so, and we can do that for the January, have it ready for the January meeting. but we can
Yeah,
send
like,
it ahead of
yeah,
time.
I'm thinking we'll have it on the
Yeah.
agenda for
Right,
December, and
perfect.
you guys can kind of say,
We'll send
this is
out
where we
something,
are. If you do some edits on the job description, the way we've been emailing stuff, hey, take a look,
Right.
kind of thing. Okay, and then, the last thing before we adjourn, so for the December meeting, 15 minutes before, we're gonna need a public meeting. So Dan, you're gonna take care of making sure we have this place and the announcement on the public meeting?
Our
Our December meeting is
When?
Is that meeting the same
eight?
day,
I
or you
think
meeting
it's
the 22nd, or you moving it?
No, it was moved.
thought it
Hang
was the
on,
eighth.
hang on.
The 8th is the
it's
second.
the 8th.
I think
on
it's
my
the
calendar.
8th, yeah.
All right,
it's the
good.
8th.
So it's gonna be at 5:15 instead of 5:30.
5:30,
So
yeah.
you'll update a Zoom on that or whatever.
I've got to do the Zoom on it, yeah. So. 8, 12, 18. And Dan, you'll take care of the room and all that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen?
The 8th is a Thursday, right?
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah,
Second
yeah,
Thursday.
and we already had the meeting at Rec Park on our calendar. It needs a Zoom, which I will put in. And then our regular meeting will commence at 5:30. Do you need anything else for the website?
I do, but I have an email started. I didn't get to send out before the meeting. So I'll send
Okay.
that out tonight.
All right,
Just going through some of the requirements for the state and make sure I'm doing things right. I might send drafts to everyone, like they want an organizational chart and bunch of
Perfect.
things. So I'll make them all up. I'll email them out.
great,
Get to go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
excellent.
And thank you and
Yeah.
Yes.
again, the work Kathy's done and Carol
All
and
of the
Randy
officers.
and,
Yeah.
and I
Much
agree, it'll
appreciated.
slow down
It will.
It will.
somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really
It will.
think
We'll
so.
get
So
through
much
this.
of this
Yeah.
is just like putting the
Really.
foundation in,
Yeah.
So,
I've been MIA, but I got about 2 more weeks from hell at work and then I'll kind of.
well, we know, and I
Everything
know
will
you've been
calm
busy
down.
at work, and that's why a lot of the stuff I'm just like, and then
No,
saying,
And
Dan,
I
because
appreciate
you
it.
mentioned it, so.
Believe me.
Can I make a
Um,
motion to adjourn or I have to be excused?
Yes, actually, I was just going to ask if someone would make that motion.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pam, and who else would, do we need to do double on that? No, we just say
Second that.
Pam motion to adjourn. And
I
Joe.
don't think anybody's gonna argue.
Thank you so much. Thank
Hey,
you.
all right, guys, take care.
Thank
Thank you, Nadira.
Bye.
Bye.
Nadira.
All right.
Hey, Scott, you're welcome to that package if I can have the fiduciary form.
Have a nice Thanksgiving, all, if I don't run into you.
too.